Okay, let's take a look at a little practice to see what we did in lessons 2 and 3 in the videos. And let's begin, I guess, with part 1 makes the most sense. A shifter is a group of words that can be shifted from the front of a sentence to the end, or from the end of a sentence to the front without changing the meaning. And that's really the important thing. We can't change the meaning because if you do change the meaning, it's not a shifter. So let's take a look. Brain studies had not produced many results before the 21st century. Before the 21st century is a shifter, and very often when you talk about time, that's in a shifter place. And just to check, before the 21st century, brain studies had not produced many results. No difference in meaning, so we do have a shifter in the end. We can say, oh, here's an end shifter. Okay, so please stop the video for a minute and take a look through sentences 1 through 4 below and find the shifters. When you're done, come back and we'll take a look together. Let's take a look at number 1. For me, evolutionary psychology is not crazy. Evolutionary psychology is not crazy for me. It can often explain many things about us. No shifters. Jane and Janet are chimpanzees. No shifters. Russell Smith has trained them for a number of years. For a number of years, Russell Smith has trained them. Okay, so there's our shifters. And now let's go and we'll take a look at what we talked about in lesson 1. And let's find the 2 X word places and draw a box around the subject in that first example sentence that we just did. We already found the shifter. Okay, so first the X word places. Have is the X word. Have brain studies. The subject is brain studies. And now the predicate is everything from the subject to the end shifter place. If you don't have an end shifter, then the predicate just goes to the end of the sentence. Please stop the video, go back to sentences 1 through 4 above, and mark the 2 X word places in each sentence. Box the subject, and then draw a wavy arrow over the predicate, and when you're done, come back. Let's take a look together. So, is the X word, is evolutionary psychology, evolutionary psychology is the subject, and then everything left is the predicate. It can often explain many things about us. Can it often explain? Everything left is the predicate. Jane and Janet are chimpanzees. Are Jane and Janet chimpanzees? This is a great story, by the way. Predicate. Russell Smith has carefully trained them. Has Russ Smith carefully trained them? Russ Smith is the subject. Carefully trained them is the predicate. Okay. Yeah, you can see how the sentence, it really starts to fall apart so nicely, so cleanly. Please, stop the video. And we're going to now, we have a whole bunch of sentences. And let's take these steps. Number 1, separate any shifters from the trunk with parentheses. Number 2, mark the 2 X word places. Number 3, box the subject. And number 4, draw a wavy line facing the subject over the predicate towards the subject. And when you're done, come back. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at number 5. For example, and every time they open the box are two shifters. X word is wood, subject is Russ, and everything from the subject to the end of the sentence or the end shifter place is the predicate. After a few weeks, he began giving Janet 5 grapes for the same trick. For the same trick, after a few weeks, he began giving Janet 5 grapes. Two shifters again. He did not begin. Did he begin? He is the subject. Everything from the subject to the predicate, to the end shifter or end of the sentence is the predicate. You can see how these sentences, the words are different, the ideas are different, the X words are different, but they're all put together the same way. That's what's so amazing, and that's what this grammar shows us so clearly, is that sentences really are put together exactly the same way. So, number 7. However, Jane continued to receive 3 grapes for opening the box. However, for opening the box, Jane continued. There are two shifters. Did Jane continue to receive? Jane did not continue to receive. Jane is the subject. Everything left is the predicate. Very shortly thereafter, Jane would not open the box any longer. In this sentence, there is no shifter at the end. You couldn't say any longer, thereafter. It wouldn't work. Would is the X word, and knowing the X words really makes our job easy because we don't have to try to figure this out. We just find the X word and right away we're on our way. And here's our predicate. Russ was not treating Jane and Janet equally. No shifters. Everything to the end of the sentence is the predicate. Jane quickly understood this. No X words, but I could say, did Jane quickly understand this? Jane did not quickly understand this, and Jane is the subject, and from the subject to the end of the sentence is the predicate. Who taught Jane about fairness? Now this is an interesting one. There's no shifters, and if I wanted to find my two X word places, I'd have to make the question, I'd have to make negative. So let's start by making negative. Who did not teach Jane about fairness? And we don't usually say this, but you could ask, did who teach Jane about fairness? So here we go. Who is in the subject place, and everything left is the predicate. This is a little bit different. We're going to talk about questions later on in our class. I think it comes up in lesson 8 lesson 8. Evolutionary psychologists believe people have an innate sense of fairness. No shifters, and you can see the length of a sentence really doesn't make any difference at all. So on our first sentence, it's a little bit shorter. There were two shifters. But here on our last sentence on this page, it's a longer sentence with no shifters. It's not about length or the number of words. It's the structure that we're looking at. Evolutionary psychologists believe. Do not believe. Do evolutionary psychologists believe? Evolutionary psychologist is the subject. It's between the two X word places. Everything to the end of the sentence is the predicate. So far, so good. Let's finish these up, and then if you have any questions, or if you want, you can always stop the video at any point to talk about it. But if not, let's just continue, and then you'll have a little bit of time later if you want to go over any of these things. This makes a lot of sense to me. To me, this makes a lot of sense. Does this make a lot of sense? This does not make a lot of sense. This is the subject, the predicate from the subject to the end shifter place. Recognizing fair treatment offers greater chances for survival. Now, it's true, you could say for survival, recognizing fair treatment offers greater chances, but actually, I don't think it's a shifter. I feel that for survival really has to go together with the chances. And we'll talk about this much more. We can't talk about everything in one lesson. But let's say for now there's no shifters. Let's find our X word places. Does recognizing fair treatment offer? Recognizing fair treatment doesn't offer. And the subject is recognizing fair treatment. It's between the two X word places. Everything left to the end of the sentence is the predicate. In your opinion, do you usually know when you're being treated fairly? There's just one shifter. In your opinion, the X word is here in the front because we already have it changed into a yes or no question. But if I wanted to make negative, I could say you do not usually know. You is the subject, and everything left is the predicate. Do children need to learn to be fair to other children? No shifters. X word. Children do not need to learn. Children is the subject between the two X word places. Predicate. And last one, do children need to learn when they're being treated unfairly? We might jump and say, oh, when they're being treated unfairly, do children need to learn? Actually, it's not a shifter. And again, we'll get to something like this as an example later, probably, I'd say maybe lesson 9 or 10. But for now, no shifters. X word. Children do need to learn. Children is the subject. And everything left is the predicate. So I hope things are going well. I hope you're enjoying this. To me, I could do this all day long. It's so much fun for me. But if you do have anything you want to talk about, let's stop, talk about it. The most important thing is that you feel comfortable before going on. There's no reason to hurry. We can take our time. And we're going to keep practicing these steps with every next step we do because we're getting deeper and deeper into each sentence with each lesson. So enjoy it, talk about it, feel comfortable, and let's get back together again when it comes to lesson 4.